face it this way though, so that you can still see the board. No, you can stay there. Because it's just going to be 3 of you, because Jess isn't here today. Hello. Please just find your seats from yesterday and take your materials out. Hello.
I won't be noticed. I'm on.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please take out your materials for the source annotations that we've gone over. We'll just wait to see if everyone else is here. I think everyone's here so far. Okay. You should have out source 1 for Immanuel Kant's What is Enlightenment, the annotations for Ken Robinson's video, Changing Educational Paradigms, and you should have source 3, Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Emile. Okay. Yesterday in class, you wrote text-dependent questions with your group. And last night, I went through your text-dependent questions, and some of them were really well done, and I wish I had written them myself. There were some that were not as text-dependent, so we're going to look at a few examples today. But before we get into that, I'd like you to first reflect with your partner on these 2 questions for this do now. Discuss with your partner first, what challenges did you face in writing text-dependent questions yesterday? Secondly, what is the value in writing text-dependent questions? What can you gain from writing text-dependent questions? Why is it important to do so? I'd like you to take just 2 minutes to discuss those 2 questions with your partner. You can start up.
So, some challenges that we faced was that we wanted to make it so we wanted to
Yeah. Okay, yeah, just the actions might change. We're having a discussion with Amanda and everybody. Because we might actually need more to split the teacher calendar between groups and the teacher. That's just something that might come up.
maybe thinking about if it generated discussion, if it was just a one-word answer for so
Please take a few more moments. Okay, so what challenges did you face in writing your text-dependent questions yesterday? Some people struggled. So what were those struggles? Kelly?
Making sure that your text-dependent questions were really text-dependent and didn't use background knowledge.
Right, did not use background knowledge. For the most part, your questions did not use background knowledge. There were a few that may have asked opinion, so that would require your own background knowledge. You did pretty well with that, so it's good that you reviewed for that. Acom.
We had to make sure that they weren't repetitive, so that we weren't asking the same question over and over again, just in a different set of words.
Yes, and there were 6 questions you had to write for each source. So that is challenging because there's one main idea, there's one claim from the author. So how do you really expand upon that claim and how he crafts his writing? Martha?
I found that a lot of my questions were more conceptual, and there were a lot of my opinion on the author's points rather than trying to analyze what he's actually saying.
Okay. When you were writing the questions yesterday? So how did you fix those questions?
Well, I fixed them by trying to eliminate anything that's not really in the text. That's more just kind of my opinion of it,
Right.
and just trying to focus mainly on parts that can be supported by the text.
Right. Some questions I saw started, in your opinion, what is yada, yada, yada? What is the purpose of Rousseau's argument? What is Rousseau's argument? So in that case, you're saying, in your opinion, you'll need to say that. Sometimes you just need to eliminate any mention of first person. Varun?
You have to make sure you didn't give away the answer to the question.
Yes, leading questions. Javi?
We had to make it sound formal and sophisticated, but it had to make sense at the same time. So we weren't making it too wordy, so that it actually was understandable to the reader.
Good. Good. Carolyn?
You had to make sure it was relevant and important to the claim or the objective.
Yes, we reflected upon our text pen questions, see if they were aligned with the claim and the content objective. Brandon?
Well, I was gonna say that I said that the generating the question wasn't as hard, but connecting it back to the content objective and making sure it's relevant to what we're actually learning.
Right. Exactly. So what is the value in text pen questions? Why ask text pen questions? Why go through the process of writing text dependent questions? Maybe what you learn from the process. What could be learned by answering these questions? Grayson?
Well, it really opens up new doors for understanding the text. If you write down the text dependent question, it makes you think a little deeper about what you're really trying to get, the objective or the claim, what you're trying to think about that.
Very good. What else could you learn? Callan?
It helps you become a better writer to always refer back to the text in your answers.
Exactly. Always referring back to the text. One more. Jill?
It helps with the idea of metacognition. Like what Grayson said, it's about thinking about what you're thinking.
Mhm.
So that when you look back in the text, you really learn more about it, and you're able to relate the things you already learned in it.
Very good. I like your connection back to metacognition. All right. So today we're going to be responding to some of those text-dependent questions. I went through all your questions, and a lot of them were really awesome questions. So what I did was I identified 2 from each of the sources that you wrote that I thought were excellent. And then I shared it with 2 other people within the classroom. So you will not be seeing your own questions today or answering your own questions. You'll be answering someone else's questions from this class. And you'll see whose they are, so you can give props to them for writing good questions. So I'd like you to take a moment to log into your Google Docs account using the iPads. And some of you just might need to share, or if you have your own technology, you can use that as well. And while you're logging in, I'm going to just show to you a few questions that I thought were pretty strong text-dependent questions, so we can just review what was good about them. Anyone having trouble logging in? Okay. Right. So, today, our objective, we have 2 objectives again. Our objective is you will learn how the Enlightenment can be considered a revolution. in the past, I had you streamline your annotations so that they aligned with the objective. Your annotations were aligned with the objective. I also said to check your annotations to see if they matched the author's claim or provided any insight to the author's claim. Those were your annotations. What you'll do today is streamline your responses to match a concept. So you'll have to respond to the questions, but I also want you to look back at those responses that you've provided and connect them to this idea of revolution. So all of your responses should connect to this idea of revolution. Okay? So here's one model question. Which vocabulary word from the text best captures the author's claim? So take a look at your Immanuel Kant article. And I'd like you to take a moment to try and identify with your partner a response to this question. Which vocabulary word from the text best captures the author's claim? Please just identify the word and discuss that with your partner for 1 minute. Let me know when you found the word. Which word did you choose? Immaturity. What is the author's claim? Overcoming immaturity, right? Okay. So if the author's claim is overcoming one's immaturity, even though he doesn't use this word in the text, I would think from your claim it would be overcome, to overcome. But immaturity is the problem. What is his argument? To overcome, right? So what word might show that argument? If immaturity is the starting point, what's the end goal? Maybe what word connects to his end goal? Maturity, right? Okay. So what words did we decide upon for this question? Sarah? Immaturity? Okay, why did you choose immaturity?
He talks about it a lot throughout his passage, and he says to be in the enlightenment, we have to become mature.
Okay. So overcoming immaturity. Good. What's another word you chose? Jill?
Individuality.
Why?
Because in the text it says that immaturity is not self-caused, but by lack of determination and courage used when intelligence will not be guided by another. And we thought of that as if they're saying you need to be able to do things for yourself. It's about being individual and being able to think individually.
Very good. So individualism you said, right? Okay. Good. What's another word? Varun. Enlightenment, right. So that is the key word for this unit. So when you look at this question, you've come up with a word, but there's really a few parts to this question. How many parts are there? Amanda?
3.
Why?
Because you have to define the vocabulary of the word, and then you have to understand what the claim is, and then you have to be able to relate them.
Right, very good. How many pieces of evidence would you need to use for this question in a response? If your response has to be text dependent, how many quotes would you have to depend upon for this answer? Emily?
I think at least two, because you have to have the word from the text
Mhm.
in a sentence and then the claim.
Perfect. You need to show that you know what the claim is, and then the word, and then connect those two. That's the 3-part there. So, what about this question makes it a strong question? Why do you think this is a good text-dependent question? Anika?
Well, like, it goes back, it makes the reader go back to what the claim is and then connect it with what the author was trying to convey with his diction.
Very good. So you're looking at diction, you're looking at claim, and you're using evidence, right? So there are a few parts to this question. How would you answer this question? What do you need to include in a response to make it a good response? Think back to an acronym that you've practiced. Sarah.
The acronym that we practice is PERJA. So like all, like political and like economical and like social and all those like include the main key points and stuff into your response.
Okay, you could certainly use PERJA, which is political, economic, religious, social, intellectual, artistic. You could use that to help you to analyze the quote and think about the impact of the quote. But how should you structure your writing? Callan? Okay. Right, answer or introduce your response, right? Answer the question, cite evidence, explain the connection, explain your response, explain why you use that quote. So, today, you're going to craft text-dependent responses using that format, that ACE or ICE, whichever one you have practiced or feel most comfortable using. But within your responses, you also need to connect back to this greater idea of revolution. So keep that in your mind and keep reflecting on your responses so that they connect back to that greater idea. I'd like you to take a look at your Google Drive, and you'll see that I shared a document with you last night. Raise your hand if you do not have a document called Text-Dependent Responses. All right. So please open that document and take a look at the directions. And Caroline, could you read the directions aloud, please?
Within your group, respond to these text-dependent questions thoroughly using evidence from sources. Choose one from each category.
Very good. So you're choosing one from each category. How many questions are you answering total? Yep. 4. You're answering 4 questions total. With your partner, you need to work on the same question at the same time. You should be talking with your partner about your responses, not just writing together. You should be talking it out before you write. And always think about, how does this show revolution? How does this connect back to this greater theme as well? Okay? So I'd like you to start up, and I'll be coming around and I'll help you if you're having trouble using the document and see how well you're doing with your responses. What questions do you have? Questions? Okay, you can start up then. Yes, it's directly onto the document.
So we could pick
Paragraph 1. So, the first sentence actually basically.
Brandon, if you want to use your phone too, you could. That's up to you. Which question are you going to work on?
And then afterwards.
The first one? So how are you starting? You're starting by looking for a quote, it looks like. Bless you. Looking for a quote first? Okay. Yes. Yes. Which question are you answering? How can a monarch help or hinder the age of enlightenment? It's a good one. A lot of people overlook that concept. So I'm glad you're paying attention to that. I also want to remember that because we're going to be talking about that question in our next unit too. So it's a really important one. About how monarchs can help or hinder enlightenment. So that's the political aspect. We've been looking more at the educational aspects of the enlightenment.
You wanted to say how?
To work with people after a while.
So what question? Good starting sentence. Very direct.
Sort of what you already typed. Here. Like it says, self-confidence is not caused by lack of intelligence, but by lack of determination and courage to use one's intelligence. I know like you already like said that.
So what is the question you're answering right now?
It's like
How does the author words and phrases? Okay. Help the author generate. Okay. What evidence are you going to use for this question?
We'll make more contributions. So,
Right. Perfect. So you have evidence for the claim, and then what words or phrases are you going to use for evidence? So deciding on that? This is a two-part question. You have to prove the claim, and then you have to prove what words and phrases are. How are you doing?
good.
we're like making the first sentence and then answer the question before. Our question is according to paragraph 1 of the okay. So we kind of try to take all the ideas from paragraph 1 and not just the first.
Right.
We're trying to make it all.
So that it's not just depending on that one. Excellent. Nice. So, which part of the paragraph are you going to include? What parts?
Also like the first one, it has like a lot of like evidence about how context is not caused by lack of determination.
Alright, so does all the things.
Great. That quote shows development of his claim. So then you can discuss more about the claim in your analysis part of this. Nice job. In depth. Deeper depth. I like that.
Like the sentence.
So, in quotes, one of the stronger.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you are finished with that first question that you're working on, please raise your hand so I can come around and check it and discuss it with you.
Alright, so we're gonna start.
What was that first sentence that said? That was really good. When analyzing the full depth, you notice that other users
For citations? Yes, after the parenthesis.
But our lack of determination encourages by lack of determination and courage.
How are you doing?
One's guided by another.
Are necessary.
Wait, and then like right here it says wait yeah, it's like have the courage.
How are you doing?
Intelligence is there.
Good.
So like
You're finishing the first one?
that too.
Oh, you are? Mm-hmm. Yes, please. I have. I'm just going to read it aloud because then I can hear it as well as read it. To become mature, to leave immaturity, the person must have freedom to do so. To be self-enlightened, all that is required is freedom. Freedom in thought and action. This is your quote. This is even inescapable if only the public is given their freedom, according to a German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. A person cannot be held by ideas similar to religion or overbearing guidance. To be free, one must be ready to experience change and to become part of an idea similar to the Enlightenment. Excellent. And where in your response do you connect back to this concept of revolution?
Like the last episode,
How would we introduce
to also explain that like one has to be self-reliant are the ideas similar to like the
Good. I also saw that you used a synonym, more or less, for revolution. Do you know what it was?
This quote shows that
Which is totally fine that you did that. What was it? Change. Perfect. Very good.
I used to write the scripture.
Is anyone else finished with their first one?
She said it was
No?
informal,
so we need another word for it.
the enlightenment.
This concedes that enlightenment is something that can be overcome by men.
Almost done?
So that they
Okay.
I think we should put it done, because I think that's more.
achieved by men by overcoming
Analysis.
their reliance on others. Yeah, I would say that because like because it was like if they like rely on others, then what we said.
Can be achieved by mankind
Yes. It's a good word.
Can still be a part of you, even after.
And then we could talk about more like how they overcome it, because we kind of talked about the second part of our answer about how like they become more individualized. But we didn't really talk about the laziness.
Nice. Very nice reflection.
Laziness is power in a large large part of mankind, even as
Hey,
nature is
may I borrow one of
full
yours? Is yours not working? Oh, sorry. At least, oh, okay. Some of them are a little glitchy. Okay. I'm just going to read it aloud so that I can hear it as well as. Oh, this is glitching out. Glitching too. Whoa. Okay. So the question is, how does being self-enlightened differ from being taught? Okay. You said being self-enlightened differs from being taught because it relies on one's independence. Enlightenment is one getting over his immaturity. In the text, it says that, quote, immaturity is the incapacity to use one's intelligence without the guidance of another, end quote. So, to achieve enlightenment, one has to rely on himself to achieve enlightenment. You might want to fix that. By being taught, one will not have any need to think. That's an incomplete statement, so you need to fix that too. This means that enlightenment will only be achieved through the loss of independence. This means that enlightenment will only be achieved through the loss. Okay. Okay.
The rest of the quote says, I do not have to think if I can pay others will take them.
Right, right. Yes, yes.
So was that with the answer?
Then the only concern is where is it? So to achieve enlightenment, one has to rely only on himself to achieve enlightenment. So that sounds a little repetitive. And then by being taught, one will not have any need to think. Oh, okay. Maybe say by whom? By being you could say being taught by another.
They're being directed towards.
Being taught by another, comma, one will not have any need to think. You can leave it as it is. Yes. I think I just, when I read it, I thought it was like an independent clause, like it was an introduction to something. Okay, thank you. Did you finish your first one? Almost? Okay, just let me know. Has anyone else finished their first question?
What you were saying.
Okay. I'm just going to steal that from you when you're set. Read it on your. Okay. Okay. So it says, how does the concept. It's like glitching on me. Okay. How does the concept of maturation connect to the author's purpose? So you have the concept of maturity, and then the author's purpose, his purpose for writing. He said the author's purpose is to present the circumstances for enlightenment. Nice. I like that statement. Kant states, enlightenment is man's his self-caused immaturity. This shows that maturation is a prerequisite for enlightenment, as it can only occur with developed maturation. Excellent. One thing you need to add into that is the concept of revolution or change. Okay. So you can either add that as an ending closure sentence, or you can incorporate it into your opening or analysis statement. You had a question, yes?
No, we don't have to do it.
Okay.
So which one do you want to answer?
You finished your first one? I'll be there in a moment. Okay, thank you. You can continue until I get over to
Should
you.
we do both questions for each source?
Just one for each category.
So the private.
Well done. Very specific. Very detailed. Good quote. So, what do we have here? My knees are okay. So, question is, we have Immanuel Kant, what is enlightenment? Question is, what words and phrases help the author to generate a greater claim within the text? So you have words and phrases, so you chose words and phrases. And then you also need evidence for what his claim is. So you did the two-part, okay. So you said, the greatest words that help the author to generate the greater claim within the text is enlightenment. And you said greatest and greater. The greatest words that help the author to generate the greater claim. So we could look at one that was within the enlightenment. Within the text is enlightenment. So you're using enlightenment as a word? Okay. So you say the greatest word. Because you only share one in that sentence. There you go. Help. Yeah. Helps. Yes, now it is helps. As written by Immanuel Kant, enlightenment is man's leading to self-caused immaturity. Many things get in one's way to be accomplished, such as laziness and cowardice, which make up individuals' immaturity. However, enlightened people are knowledgeable because they are educated and have a higher understanding of what they're being taught. The author claimed that a lack of self-determination leaves one immature, therefore not enlightened. Being driven to educate oneself displays qualities of maturity and courage. Okay, this part, that a lack of self-determination, is that a quote from his writing at all? Maybe there's another quote because you're expanding on his claim. So maybe you should incorporate some evidence of this lack of self-determination. I think there's something that connects back to that. So you could have two quotes in there for it. Determined, yes. Maybe use lack of determination and courage. And you don't have to necessarily add it to what you have, but take out what you have right here, lack of self-determination, and just use that segment as part of your sentence. And then think about how this connects back to revolution and change, and do you think it matches revolution and change? Okay. Nice job. The first one? Okay. It's fabulous. I'm sure it is. Okay. According to Kant, what obstacles stand between mankind and enlightenment? Okay. How do you show revolution in your response? Do you think that do you think that your response connects back to the idea of change? Okay. So you just need to add a word, change or enlightenment, into one of your statements. Because it really is almost a call for change that he's made. He's asking people to change their thought, maybe. So just add that word somewhere into your response. Varun, you finished? Okay, I'll be there in a moment. You finished? Okay. You can continue for now. You can continue for now. Let's check yours. Is this one out of order right now? Or have you been using it?
Just a refresh.
Okay, so I'll use this one.
So,
May I see it for a moment? Read it. Okay.
we did number 1 first. What were the amounts for number 3?
According to paragraph 1 was enlightenment. Oh yes, paragraph. Okay. Enlightenment consists of man overcoming his laziness and cowardice to work more individually and not have to rely on others to do their work for them. The outcome of men becoming more individualized is more ideas being contributed to society. Fix a little fluency in there. Let's fix that second sentence. According to source 1, such immaturity is self-caused if it is not caused by a lack of intelligence, but by a lack of determination and courage to use one's intelligence without being guided by another. This concedes that enlightenment can be achieved by mankind by overcoming their reliance on others. Also, according to the article, through laziness and cowardice, a large part of mankind, even after nature has freed them from alien guidance, gladly remains immature. So, even after they are directed and assisted by nature to become individualized, they yet remain in their state of self-caused immaturity. Okay. What part of your response do you think connects back to the idea of revolution and change?
I think the elaboration on the first one, because it talks about how if man becomes more individual, they'll contribute their ideas to society, and eventually leads to revolutions.
So your idea of revolution is shown by this movement towards individualism, individualization.
Also because we can talk about being individualized and being individualized and assisted to be it, and that's like change and revolution.
Right. What kind of revolution do you think is associated with the enlightenment? Yeah, what does idealistic mean?
Like,
I think it's like an intellectual.
containing, yeah.
Okay, so it's a revolution of intellect, intellectual revolution.
Sharing ideas,
More like physical.
Right.
being self-aware.
So it's not something you can see happen.
It's kind of
Intuitive, intellectual. Excellent.
But it also, like, when that happened, it also changed things outside too. Because they were all more individual and coming up with their ideas.
Right, right. Excellent. Perfect. You can continue on to category 2. And that will probably be the last one. So I want you to take as much care as you did the one as you did the first. Yes. Yes.
And then we also fixed the first one.
A lot of people have chosen this question because I included one like this in live groups. It says, what words and phrases help the author to generate a greater claim to the text? A lot of you came up with that very similar question yesterday. So you guys really focusing on diction. Okay. So that means you had to reference words and phrases, and you also had to show support for the claim. You have a quote for the claim, I see. It shows the words religion and individuality. You have it on there too. The phrase generates a greater claim by explaining the key points of life, which are religion and maturity. The idea of being an individual connects to the overall goal of enlightenment and the change in people's values. That change in people's values with respect to the revolution. So you are all set. Nice work. You had finished. Yes, please.
The Enlightenment considered a revolution. Granted, it was more of an idealistic approach. Alright. So what did you say? How can it be a revolution?
Okay. Only thing you need to change in your response is you stated in your concluding statement, we noted these two ways. Use third person. Okay? And then the rest looks excellent. You have quotes from the text to support your question. And you also make reference to this idea of change or revolution. Yeah. All set. We have, how does a monarch help or hinder the age of enlightenment? Oh yes. A monarch can both help and hinder the age of enlightenment for many reasons. According to source 1, okay, I'm going to stop there, where you said for many reasons, your introduction, I see that you're trying not to give away your answer too soon, but you need to just state the point. Instead of saying for many reasons, you should say what it is, so that the reader knows what to expect from the quote. According to source 1, the monarch, only he who is self-enlightened does not fear specters when he at the same time has a well-disciplined army at his disposal. This quote reveals that the monarchs who were given an honorable army will use it for defending society and not for mass destruction and cruel activity. I like how you present how they help enlightenment and can also have the potential to hurt enlightenment. Excellent. Oh, we're defining it for ourselves? Oh, for immaturity. I know it gets repetitive. Oh, ignorance, that's good. That is good. You just have to be careful. Sometimes you can fall into the trap of using a word that's a synonym, but it's not. Its meaning might be a little different. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, that's the whole comparison to a moist cake versus a damp cake. Which would you rather eat? Yeah. Yeah. A wrung out cake. How are you two doing? You're on number 2? Okay. Oh, sorry. You are? Yes, please. Your third one. Oh my goodness. You are flying. There must be something wrong with it. Just kidding.
Okay, he sounds like he's making a list. I was trying to put like a content objection
Nice. My only remarks are, it's not the content, it's your presentation of it. Some of your sentences, you have some grammatical errors. Yeah. Where was one? Like being deteriorating. Something was being deteriorating. Just some of the words are a little unclear. You are? Okay, I'll read it in just a moment. What's up? Oh, you did? Okay. This is the... Oh, I read it. Oh, revised. Oh, okay. That's right.
It says, as he grows in health and strength, he grows in wisdom and discernment. So this comes with
That's right. One thing holds me up, which is just one word, which is the word things. Word things. Okay. So what kinds of things? Aspects, obstacles, bicycles, I don't know. Just be specific on what things is. Okay. Using textual evidence, explain how the author compares and contrasts the ideas presented of being an independent and dependent scholar. Brandon and Sarah with that question. That's a good question. Okay. Being an independent scholar are different because of the amount of individuality involved in each. Through the process of being an independent scholar, one will learn more efficiently and better because it is for himself. In the text, Rousseau states that while being independent, he learns all the quicker because he is not aware that he has a lesson to learn. While learning this way, there is nobody to hold him back, and he learns to think for himself. In contrast to this, when one learns dependently, he loses the ability to be an individual. I like how you transition to that part. Rousseau states that if your head always guides his hand, is it hand always guides? If your hand, okay. If your hand always guides his hand, his own mind will become useless. As a student depends on his teacher for knowledge, he can no longer depend on himself. Through independent and dependent learning, outcomes can appear vastly different, as shown through Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Emile, where both sides, independent and dependent, excellent. Yeah. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for you to pause what you're doing. And this has been done on Google Docs, so it will automatically save. We will continue to work on this on Monday, so you'll finish up those questions. I'd like you to just log out of your Google Doc account. And I would like you to also just take out a piece of lined paper for a closure question that I'll collect. It might be in your settings. I can do it at the end of class. Usually, I think I go there. In the settings. Go to settings, go to mail. Okay, you're all set. Should be all set. Okay. Please close your iPads. And you can leave them on your desk, just in the corner. And you just need a piece of paper. Now, you've spent a lot of time looking through mostly Immanuel Kant's What is Enlightenment, and some of you may have gotten onto Ken Robinson's Changing Educational Paradigms. You will be able to look back on Ken Robinson's video on Monday so that you can have a direct quote, because you need to have that evidence in your response. So right now, I'd like you to just respond to this one question. Just make sure your name is on the paper. Let's wait till everyone's ready. Question is, what kind of revolution was the Enlightenment? What kind of revolution was the Enlightenment? Now this question is an opinion question. You do not need to use the text for this response. If it were a text-dependent question, you could use 1, 2, 3 of the sources, but we don't have the time for that. I just want your reaction. Please wrap up your final statements. Okay. Please just put a period where you ended. Consider the fact that the bell just rang. And I'd just like to collect that from you.
Please come to the attendance office.
Thank you very much.
Bellamy, Michael Crejon, Paul
Have
Tyra,
a wonderful
Jamie
weekend.
DeBerg. Thank you.
That's fine.